If there's any plant that I encourage you to eat, believe it or not, it's this plant. Stinging nettles is a nutritional powerhouse. It's just full of vitamins A, C, and E, and potassium, and iron.
Calcium.
It's, even though it is the kind of plant that, what? You want to eat this kind of plant? It'll sting you. But I always look at it almost like, it's almost like a person who's really crotchety on the inside or on the outside, and you feel, well,
right,
this person is,
that person.
You're the
this
kind of person
person's not, I don't want to deal with this person. But then you get to know them, and the person is such a great guy or gal, and that's this plant. You just have to know how to treat it with kid gloves.
So if you don't get along, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Rubberized gloves.
Oh, rubberized gloves, right there.
It's also got medicinal properties.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
And I will swear, because I bumped into a bunch of it, and it got all over my leg, and I've got arthritis, and I couldn't stand it, and I went running to the house and had to take a shower. But my right leg doesn't hurt anymore where the rest of my body does, and so I'm going, okay, this summer I need to roll in it.
That's what the Indians used to do.
Yeah.
The Native Americans roll in it,
Yeah.
and then it just gets your circulation going. And it's also a good plant because it comes up early in spring, and it acts as a tonic to help your body after this sluggish winter. At least I'm sluggish during the winter.
You know, the flagellantes use it too.
Yeah. Urtication.
In Spain.
Yeah, they actually do this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that a European plant originally?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Asia, too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you harvest it without getting
Okay,
stung by
how to
the
harvest
nettles?
nettles. She had the rubber gloves, a good idea. I always wear gloves.
Okay.
People say that if you touch it a certain way, you can do it without the gloves, but I figure why not, unless I'm trying to get rid of arthritis in my
You're
fingers.
supposed to pull it towards you.
Yeah.
But I never do it.
One time, there's a plant called dock, which usually grows right around it,
They'll all break in the same
that
direction.
if you get stung,
So
you can
go
use.
like this.
Oh, I didn't know
supposed
you
to,
could use dock for that.
And I think there's dock. I think there's dock over there.
over
So
there.
apparently I just broke all the needles
Yeah.
underneath
You break them like that and then
Like a
you pull them
porcupine.
out.
Yeah, they're like dominoes, so you can
Yeah,
like
like a
drag them.
porcupine
But
plant. That's a good
I actually
name.
got caught by
Porcupine.
the one above it, so I have a couple in my fingers.
I've
So
heard it called the 7-minute itch.
7-minute itch. It
Yeah.
usually
No,
lasts
it
much
lasted a lot
longer.
longer than that. I just found some that was about this tall.
Yes, actually, I had a recipe for making a very simple gazpacho, and it called for 10 stinging nettle tops,
Did you get some?
uncooked,
I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I just
mixed with
wanted to know
tomatoes
what-
and some goutweed, which I guess we won't see, but it's a mild, goutweed is a mild green. And you had to blend them together, and I said, well, I'm going to try it on myself before I give it to anybody else. So what I did was I put I used tomatoes, diced tomatoes, which were very liquidy. And then I added the nettle tops and the goutweed and
I've never done it with that.
went in the blender for about 3 minutes. And so it was really ground up. And then I tried it, it was fine. I think what happens is when you cook the nettles, I only cook them for about 2 minutes. All they need is just a little bit of water to get rid of that sting. And I figured that the liquid in the tomato and the blending, making it fine, would help it. But I didn't want to serve it to anybody until I tried it on myself. And I tried it on myself and it was fine. So, yes, I have eaten nettles raw. But what I usually do is I wear gloves and I take the top parts. Now these are getting a little tall, but I take the top parts and then bring them home, add a little water in a pan, then add the nettles, stir them up for about 1 or 2 minutes, and then the sting is just dissipated. And then I chop them up fine. I oftentimes mix them with mashed potatoes or mashed yams and make little potato pancakes from them, and they're delicious.
Do you boil the water? Or you
Bring the water to a kind of a boil. Not a whole lot of water. You don't need much water at all. These shrink down too when you cook them.
Well,
They're
these-
like spinach. Yeah.
These two are eating it, and And
I'll pick a leaf for you if you want.
Well,
It's
you know
good.
what? You know what they do? In England, they have a nettle eating challenge. The British with their stiff upper lips.
That's what they get.
They have, you know, they pick things about this long. They sit at a table, and whoever can eat the most nettles wins.
Oh, wow.
Sounds like no fun to me.
To me, that's not fun. You know,
ready to
but,
go.
And it's only on the underside.
Can you
that
use the
needles
stem?
are?
Can you eat the
Other
stem?
side and I'll see 'em on
I
the
have
side.
not eaten the stem. This is a multi-use plant. Some people use the stem as a fiber. And in fact, I believe that the Germans in World War I or World War II made their uniforms out of the fibers of nettle.
Chew.
And their uniforms to this day are really held up as compared to, let's say, the uniforms from the Americans. And it's because the fiber was so good. So this is a multi-use plant. I also use the leaves, I dry the leaves. And I use the leaves in soups during the wintertime so I can get all those good vitamins during the wintertime.
Do you dry it after you boil them, or just
No,
dry
I
it
dry
as
them
is?
straight. I don't cook them at all.
And then the needles just sort of
I
flop.
just put them on a flat tray in a cool area, dry them, put them in a glass jar, put them in my refrigerator, and then when I need to use them, I usually use them in soup. So then I crush them and just put them in the soups, and it's really good. And again, if you see, I'll just show you this. Nettle. You can buy nettle tinctures, and this one cost, the price is off here, but it was $9.90
Wow.
for this little bottle. And when I was in San Francisco, I saw a bag, it was a pound of nettle greens, and they were selling them for $10 a pound.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. I couldn't believe it. I said, maybe it's $1 a pound, but I took a photograph of it. It's $10 a pound. So there you go. Somebody realizes that these are worth, this is green gold to a lot of people.
When you make an infusion from this, this is how I don't take vitamins. If you make an infusion of this and horsetail and oat straw, there's all the calcium, magnesium, that's all the minerals you ever need.
Yeah. An infusion,
Throw out the
correct
throw
me
out
if
the
I'm
pills.
wrong, infusion I believe is you take the plant and you put quite a bit of water over it, a lot of plant in there, and bring it to a boil and then let it sit for hours and hours or overnight. And then all the goodness of the plant goes into that water. Am I correct? Is that how you do it?
You actually boil the water, and then when you take it off the burner, then add the plant
Then
for
add
like
the
leaves
plant.
and flowers.
Just like
They
me.
recommend four hours for
4
the
hours.
We got something
more
going
for
now.
roots, but 4 hours. If you leave it in too long, it's sort of like too much of a good thing. It starts turning, it can become toxic
Uh-huh.
if you overdo it.
Well, if you leave it in longer, I think it would make a really good fertilizer.